balloons. Who doesn't love a helium balloon? What's the harm? You're only 18 once, you're only 21 once, you're only 30 once, 40 once, 50 once. What is the harm? You and 7.5 billion other people, that is the problem. And then there is this fashion. I don't know if you call it fashion, fad, tradition, whatever the right word is. Criminal is what I call it. But people let off balloons at loved ones' funerals and christening to celebrate life. Life! You only die once, so your funeral guests let off 87 balloons, one for every year of your life, and kill half a dozen sea turtles in your honour. Helium balloons, you can't. I love a helium balloon as much as the next man. In fact, probably more than the next man. Seriously, I am that annoying guy at a wedding or birthday party or whatever that before even the starters are finished, I'm inhaling the helium and saying stupid stuff and singing silly songs.
And I have to say, in my defence, apart from the risk to my own health, this is an environmentally sound way to dispose of one of those toxic, inflatable, floating cancers.
But today I'm going to be talking about not just helium balloons, of which there are two different types, but also helium itself. Do you know where helium comes from? Don't worry, stick around and I will tell you. Do you know what else it is used for and why that it is far more important than Ron and Gladys's diamond wedding anniversary? In fact, the chances are that without it, neither Gladys or Ron would have lived long enough to enjoy their diamond wedding anniversary. I will tell you that also, and then I'll tell you exactly why you should use some other grand gesture to celebrate these big occasions. And then I'll finish with the why aren't people angry about this post bag, where I read my favourite batshit crazy messages from, well, angry people. So do stick around for that. But if you don't have time to watch the entire video just now, why not subscribe and then check back later? I have bought helium balloons in the past. You've probably bought helium balloons in the past. But knowledge is not only power, it brings great responsibility. I'm not sure who said that, but someone did. Obviously other than me, because I've just also said it. Anyway, after you have watched this video, you will carry the burden of knowledge and you will know you can't buy them anymore. So there are two types of helium balloon, and after you've actually watched this video and know what I know, you will know there is only one sort of person that will use them. The first kind of balloon is of course your classic Mylar, which is the shiny stuff, the most common one. Mylar is a type of PET plastic, and plastic, single-use plastic. So roughly 4 hours use before someone like me comes along and does the whole
squeaky voice thing.
That is the end of its useful life. But it will last another 10 hours when you let it go. That's how long a balloon will float for before it falls to the ground, roughly, about 10 hours. Where can it get to in 10 hours? I don't know. Do you know? Anyway, nobody has lived long enough, not even Gladys and Ron, to know for certain how long before this Mylar balloon will degrade. To me, that's a really very sobering thought. And the second type is what will be sold to you as the environmentally friendly option of the latex balloon. Environmentally friendly really is a relative term. Let's explore that a little, and let's say you have two sets of neighbours, one you are friendly with and the other one not. So the one you are not friendly with, Mr. and Mrs. Mylar, and on the other side, Mr. and Mrs. Latex. With Mr. and Mrs. Mylar, you can't stand them, and you tell them every time you see them, you shout at them, you block their car in, you let down their tyres, throw dog poo over their fence while they're sunbathing, you even accuse Mr. Mylar of being a pedo. But on the other side, you have Mr. and Mrs. Latex. You don't tell them how much you hate them, but you don't speak to them. You don't block their car in unless it's an emergency and you're struggling to find a parking space. You only throw dog poo over their wall at night and then deny it was you. You are the neighbour from hell. None of us want to be a neighbour from hell. In fact, I honestly believe that even your classic neighbour from hell is simply misunderstood, and even he or she does not want to be the neighbour from hell. But anyway, how can you avoid being the neighbour from hell when it comes to helium balloons? Well, the answer is obvious. The best thing to do is not to buy this cheap, horrible tack. There are so many better options, more elegant options out there to adorn your celebratory table. But if you are going to buy them, or you are at a function where some well-meaning host has supplied them, then please, please, and I mean never, ever let the balloons go. I know how beautiful they look as they drift off romantically into the sunset, like sky lanterns, but we all received the memo on sky lanterns. Well, this is your memo on helium balloons. You have been served, because this is what romance looks like when it hits the ground. If you're watching this video, I'm guessing you are not the sort of person to throw litter on the street. So if you wouldn't drop litter on the street, why do you think it would be okay to let your litter drift hundreds of miles away? This is not a bloody message in a bottle. This is pollution. This is a death lottery to innocent wildlife. This is animal suffering. This is plastic in our oceans. This is microplastics in our food chain, in your food, in your children's food, in your grandchildren's food, and generations to come. Well, for as long as we can keep this planet habitable. What goes up must come down. And when it does come down, you have no idea where. Maybe you've never even thought about it before, but I want you to think about it now. When a latex helium balloon pops, this is what it looks like when it falls to the ground or the ocean. So now I know what many people are probably thinking. Well, they biodegrade. And you're right, they do. But let's assume the industry claim of 6 months is right. It's not. These things can take years. 4 years. But let's go with 6 months. So this balloon is going to land somewhere looking like this and be a hazard to wildlife for at least 6 months. That is not acceptable. That's like throwing dog poo over your neighbour's garden when they aren't looking. In fact, throwing dog poo over somebody else's garden, a garden you don't even know. And what about the string? People don't even think about the string. Do you take the string off these things before you let them go? Of course you don't, because they look romantic with the string trailing behind. Oh, isn't it lovely? It's not lovely. It's probably plastic. It's going to outlive you. And it's going to kill things, and it's going to get in the food chain. If you are letting off helium balloons, whether they're latex or mylar, you are a bad neighbour. But let's talk about the helium, and I honestly had no idea myself about this until I started researching it. But if you've not been swayed by the first 2 points, let me just drive them home again. Helium balloons are really tacky. You can do so much better. They litter the planet, God knows where, and kill wildlife in the most helpless, heartbreaking, painful and horrible way. And if you are not swayed by that, maybe the helium argument will help tip the balance. Helium is one of the most abundant elements in the known universe. So there's loads of it, right? Wrong. Helium is not man-made, and the only reason we have any on Earth is because it has been trapped underground for centuries. If it was not trapped underground, it wouldn't be here. It would float off into the sky and be lost in space. Oh, I get it now. That's why those balloons float. I get it. So on Earth, it is finite and is actually extracted as a byproduct of natural gas. But unlike natural gas, helium is notoriously difficult to store on an industrial scale. So when it's gone, it's gone. Nobody mines helium for helium's sake. It is simply not cost effective. So sometimes it is plentiful and sometimes it is not. Like your January sales, but not as predictable. What I mean by that is you can't just buy something from a January sale in March. You have to wait until January. And helium is like that. We don't choose when it is plentiful. It's either plentiful or it's not. The most recent helium shortage was in 2019. So this shit does happen. So if there is a shortage, or even a likelihood of there being a shortage, shouldn't we be careful how we use it? Remember Gladys and Ron. Helium is used in and is essential in MRI scanners. MRI scanners are used a lot, and the older you are, like Gladys and Ron, the more likely you are to have benefited from an MRI scan in your life. So this is probably more important than a helium balloon, a toy. But in addition, helium is also used in weather balloons, airships, the Large Hadron Collider, satellites, rocket engines and space vehicles. It is not a toy for us to squander. 10 hours, that is how long your average helium balloon will float for. And when it lands, it has a 71% chance of landing on water, where it will either join the Great Garbage Patch in the Pacific Ocean, be washed up ashore somewhere, or be mistaken for food by seabirds, sea turtles, fish, dolphins, whales, or some other hapless mammal that will then go on to die some horrible, painful death or suffocate. And a 29% chance of it coming down on land, where it can adorn our countryside and play havoc with wildlife there. So helium balloons, now you've seen this, you can't. You can't. If you're still with me, please do stick around for the Why Aren't People Angry about this post bag, which is coming up next. But before we go there, if you care about this stuff, please do share this video with your friends and subscribe to my channel. It's entirely free to do so. And if you hit the little bell button, you'll get notified every time I put out a new video, which is every Thursday. Anyway, and that way you won't miss a thing. Oh, and don't forget to smash the like button. And do let me have your constructive comments or feedback. So this week's post bag comes from Kristen in Dallas, and Kristen decided not to go to college because she thought she could marry well. But anyway, that will become clear as I read this out. There is no climate change. It's an excuse to get more money from people. It's a big hoax. Typical Democrat. Oh, I get it what she's done there. Democrat trash. Liberturds. Oh, excellent. Democrats have been preaching this since the 1970s. Climate is still the same. Polar ice caps are still there. Global warming is bullshit. I don't know what that one means. You're a dumbass. That's me. Common sense. Fantastic. Which was nice.